Today's story is The Birth of Jacob and Esau. Written by the Most High God. Read by Deacon Abiel and Azariah Bat Israel. Illustrated by Kazdiel Ben Israel. Genesis chapter 25, verse 19. And these are the generations of Isaac, Abraham's son. Abraham begat Isaac, and Isaac was 40 years old when he took Rebekah to wife, the daughter of Bethuel, the Syrian of Padan Aram, the sister to Laban the Syrian. And Isaac entreated the Lord for his wife, because she was barren, and the Lord was entreated of him. And Rebekah his wife conceived. And the children struggled together within her. And she said,
If it be so, why am I thus?
And she went to inquire of the Lord. And the Lord said unto her, 2 nations are in thy womb, and 2 manner of people shall be separated from thy bowels. And the one people shall be stronger than the other people, and the elder shall serve the younger. And when her days to be delivered were fulfilled, behold, there were twins in her womb. And the first came out red, all over like an hairy garment, and they called his name Esau. And after that came his brother out, and his hand took hold on Esau's heel, and his name was called Jacob. And Isaac was 80 years old when she bare them. And the boys grew, and Esau was a cunning hunter, a man of the field. And Jacob was a plain man, dwelling in tents. And Isaac loved Esau, because he did eat of his venison. But Rebekah loved Jacob. And Jacob sawed pottage, and Esau came from the field, and he was faint. And Esau said to Jacob, Feed me, I pray thee, with the same red pottage, for I am faint. Therefore was his name called Edom. And Jacob said, Sell me this day thy birthright. And Esau said, Behold, I am at the point to die, and what profit shall this birthright do to me? And Jacob said, Swear to me this day. And he sware unto him, and he sold his birthright unto Jacob. Then Jacob gave Esau bread and pottage of lentils, and he did eat and drink, and rose up and went his way. Thus Esau despised his birthright.
Yo, witness reverse iconoclasm, painting pictures based off lost scriptures you couldn't fathom. Come time travel through ages of biblical pages, black images from the creations and revelations, creating black art that's abstract through holy contact to show on the stoop depictions that impacts a prophet whose color resembles antique pennies. My black Christ picture crafted greater than Da Vinci. Yeah. We illustrating the prophets how they were never shown in their true tones. Watching read another episode. A brush with paint to a canvas, a color pencil to paper, a spray can to a war. There's power in it all. A prince with power, our power in prayer. Just for the 12 tribes, it's time to repair and prepare for these other nations' nightmares. Spiritual warfare, warhead, coming to make the coast clear. Yeah.
Numbers chapter 12, verse 1. And Miriam and Aaron spake against Moses because of the Ethiopian woman whom he had married, for he had married an Ethiopian woman. And they said,
Aaron, you don't think it's hypocritical of Moses to be teaching us not to marry these other nations and then walking around here with this Ethiopian woman?
Yeah, that brother wicked as hell.
He not the only one God is dealing with. God is dealing with us too.
You right about that?
And the Lord heard it. Now the man Moses was very meek, above all the men which were upon the face of the earth. Moses, while in the land of Egypt, smote and killed an Egyptian for oppressing his fellow Hebrew, and he fled into the wilderness of Midian. Moses, the man of God, seeing the glory of God in the burning bush, who gave him his name Yahweh, and gave Moses instruction to deliver his people, the Israelites, from captivity. Moses split the Red Sea and worked many other miracles in the sight of God. Moses, the man of the Lord, received the 10 Commandments and the statutes and judgments to teach Israel the ways of God. And the Lord spake suddenly unto Moses, and unto Aaron, and unto Miriam.
Come out, ye three, unto the tabernacle of the congregation.
And they three came out. And the Lord came down in the pillar of the cloud, and stood in the door of the tabernacle, and called Aaron and Miriam, and they both came forth. And he said,
Hear now my words. If there be a prophet among you, I, the Lord, will make myself known unto him in a vision, and will speak unto him in a dream. My servant Moses is not so, who is faithful in all mine house. With him will I speak mouth to mouth, even apparently, and not in dark speeches. And the similitude of the Lord shall he behold. Wherefore then were ye not afraid to speak against my servant Moses?
And the anger of the Lord was kindled against them, and he departed, and the cloud departed from off the tabernacle.
Something's wrong. Look at my skin. Oh my gosh. My hair. Something is so wrong.
And behold, Miriam became leprous, white as snow.
Look at me. Look at my skin. What did I do? Look at my hair.
Regret for what I've done. Too late to take it back. These words I spake in haste have condemned me. Father, please, forgive me, forgive me, forgive me. Take this curse from upon me, this leprosy. Father, please, forgive me, forgive me, forgive me.
And Aaron looked upon Miriam, and behold, she was leprous. And Aaron said unto Moses,
Alas, my Lord, I beseech thee, lay not this sin upon us, wherein we have done foolishly, and wherein we have sinned. Let it not be as one dead, of whom the flesh is half consumed, when he cometh out of his mother's womb.
And Moses cried unto the Lord, saying,
Heal her now, O God, I beseech thee.
And the Lord said unto Moses,
If her father had but spit in her face, should she not be ashamed 7 days? Let her be shut out from the camp 7 days, and after that, let her be received in again.
And Miriam was shut out from the camp 7 days. And the people journeyed not till Miriam was brought in again. And afterward, the people removed from Hazeroth and pitched in the wilderness of Paran.
The birth of Samson, written by the Most High God, read by Deacon Abiel, officer Azariah, soldier Ariah, and Azariah Bath Israel, illustrated by Bishop Nathaniel 7. Judges, the 13th chapter and the 1st verse. And the children of Israel did evil again in the sight of the Lord, and the Lord delivered them into the hand of the Philistines 40 years. And there was a certain man of Zorah, of the family of the Danites, whose name was Manoah, and his wife was barren, and bare not. And the angel of the Lord appeared unto the woman, and said unto her,
Behold now, thou art barren, and bearest not. But thou shalt conceive and bear a son. Now therefore beware, I pray thee, and drink not wine nor strong drink, and eat not any unclean thing. For lo, thou shalt conceive and bear a son, and no razor shall come on his head. For the child shall be a Nazarite unto God from the womb, and he shall begin to deliver Israel out of the hand of the Philistines.
Then the woman came and told her husband, saying,
A man of God came unto me, and his countenance was like the countenance of an angel of God, very terrible. But I asked him not whence he was, neither told he me his name. But he said unto me, Behold, thou shalt conceive and bear a son, and now drink no wine nor strong drink, neither eat any unclean thing. For the child shall be a Nazarite to God from the womb to the day of his death.
Then Manoah entreated the Lord and said,
O my Lord, let the man of God which thou didst send come again unto us, and teach us what we shall do unto the child that shall be born.
And God hearkened to the voice of Manoah. And the angel of God came again unto the woman as she sat in the field. But Manoah her husband was not with her. And the woman made haste, and ran, and showed her husband, and said unto him,
Behold, the man hath appeared unto me, that came unto me the other day.
And Manoah arose, and went after his wife, and came to the man, and said unto him,
Art thou the man that spakest unto the woman?
And he said,
I am.
And Manoah said,
Now let thy words come to pass. How shall we order the child, and how shall we do unto him?
And the angel of the Lord said unto Manoah,
Of all that I said unto the woman, let her beware. She may not eat of anything that cometh of the vine, neither let her drink wine or strong drink, nor eat any unclean thing. All that I commanded her, let her observe.
And Manoah said unto the angel of the Lord,
I pray thee, let us detain thee, until we shall have made ready a kid for thee.
And the angel of the Lord said unto Manoah,
Though thou detain me, I will not eat of thy bread. And if thou wilt offer a burnt offering, thou must offer it unto the Lord.
For Manoah knew not that he was an angel of the Lord. And Manoah said unto the angel of the Lord,
What is thy name, that when thy sayings come to pass, we may do thee honor?
And the angel of the Lord said unto him,
Why askest thou thus after my name, seeing it is secret?
So Manoah took a kid with a meat offering, and offered it upon a rock unto the Lord. And the angel did wondrously, and Manoah and his wife looked on. For it came to pass, when the flame went up toward heaven off the altar, that the angel of the Lord ascended in the flame of the altar. And Manoah and his wife looked on it, and fell on their faces to the ground. But the angel of the Lord did no more appear to Manoah and to his wife. Then Manoah knew that he was an angel of the Lord. And Manoah said unto his wife,
We shall surely die, because we have seen God.
But his wife said unto him,
If the Lord were pleased to kill us, he would not have received a burnt offering and a meat offering at our hands. Neither would he have showed us all these things, nor would us at this time have told us such things as these.
And the woman bare a son, and called his name Samson. And the child grew, and the Lord blessed him. And the Spirit of the Lord began to move him at times in the camp of Dan between Zorah and Ishtar. The History of Samson, Part 1. Written by the Most High God. Read by Deacon Abiel, Officer Azariah, Soldier Ariah, and Pariah Bath Israel. Illustrated by Bishop Nathaniel. Judges, the 14th chapter and the first verse. And Samson went down to Tanath, and saw a woman in Tanath of the daughters of the Philistines. And he came up and told his father and his mother and said,
I have seen a woman in Timnath of the daughters of the Philistines. Now therefore, get her for me to wife.
Then his father and his mother said unto him,
Is there never a woman among the daughters of thy brethren, or among all my people, that thou goest to take a wife of the uncircumcised Philistines?
And Samson said unto his father,
Get her for me, for she pleaseth me well.
But his father and his mother knew not that it was of the Lord, that he sought an occasion against the Philistines, for at that time the Philistines had dominion over Israel. Then went Samson down, and his father and his mother to Timnath, and came to the vineyards of Timnath, and behold, a young lion roared against him. And the Spirit of the Lord came mightily upon him, and he rent him as he would have rent a kid, and had nothing in his hand. But he told not his father or his mother what he had done. And he went down and talked with the woman, and she pleased Samson well. And after a time he returned to take her, and he turned aside to see the carcass of the lion. And behold, there was a swarm of bees and honey in the carcass of the lion. And he took thereof in his hands, and went on eating, and came to his father and mother, and he gave them, and they did eat.
Yeah, that's delicious.
Oh my gosh. The nectar. I can.
And he told not them that he had taken the honey out of the carcass of the lion.
Yeah, that's delicious.
So his father went down unto the woman, and Samson made there a feast, for so used the young men to do. And it came to pass, when they saw him, that they brought 30 companions to be with him. And Samson said unto them,
I will now put forth a riddle unto you. If ye can certainly declare it me within the 7 days of the feast, and find it out, then I will give you 30 sheets and 30 change of garments. But if ye cannot declare it me, then shall ye give me 30 sheets and 30 change of garments.
And they said unto him, Put forth thy riddle, that we may hear it. And he said unto them,
Out of the eater came forth meat, and out of the strong came forth sweet.
And they could not in 3 days expound the riddle. And it came to pass on the 7th day, that they said unto Samson's wife, Entice thy husband, that he may declare unto us the riddle, lest we burn thee and thy father's house with fire. Have ye called us to take what we have? Is it not so? And Samson's wife wept before him, and said,
Thou dost but hate me, and lovest me not. Thou hast put forth a riddle unto the children of my people, and hast not told it me.
And he said unto her,
Behold, I have not told it my father nor my mother, and shall I tell it thee?
And she wept before him 7 days, while their feast lasted. And it came to pass on the 7th day, that he told her because she lay sore upon him. And she told the riddle to the children of her people. And the men of the city said unto him on the 7th day before the sun went down, What is sweeter than honey? And what is stronger than a lion? And he said unto them,
If ye had not plowed with my heifer, ye had not found out my riddle.
And the Spirit of the Lord came upon him, and he went down to Ashkelon and slew 30 men of them. And took their spoil, and gave change of garments unto them which expounded the riddle. And his anger was kindled, and he went up to his father's house. But Samson's wife was given to his companion, whom he had used as a friend. The History of Samson, Part 2. Written by the Most High God. Read by Deacon Abiel, Officer Yawasop, Soldier Aryeh, Soldier Yawasop, and Brother Azariah. Illustrated by Bishop Nathaniel. Judges, the 15th chapter and the 1st verse. But it came to pass within a while after, in the time of wheat harvest, that Samson visited his wife with a kid. And he said,
I will go into my wife, into the chamber.
But her father would not suffer him to go in. And her father said,
I verily thought that thou hast utterly hated her. Therefore I gave her to thy companion. Is not her younger sister fairer than she? Take her, I pray thee, instead of her.
And Samson said concerning them,
Now shall I be more blameless than the Philistines, though I do them a displeasure.
And Samson went and caught 300 foxes, and took firebrands, and turned tail to tail, and put a firebrand in the midst between two tails. And when he had set the brands on fire, he let them go into the standing corn of the Philistines, and burnt up both the shocks and also the standing corn, with the vineyards and olives. Then the Philistines said,
Who had done this?
And they answered,
Samson, the son-in-law of the Timnite, because he had taken his wife and given her to his companion.
And the Philistines came up and burnt her and her father with fire. And Samson said unto them,
Though ye have done this, yet will I be avenged of you, and after that I will cease.
And he smote them hilt and thigh with a great slaughter.
Ha ha ha! Ha! Eunuch! Ha ha ha! Ha ha ha! Come here! Ha ha!
And he went down and dwelt in the top of the rock Etam. Then the Philistines went up and pitched in Judah, and spread themselves in Lahai. And the men of Judah said,
Why are ye come up against us?
And they answered,
To bind Samson are we come up, to do to him as he had done to us.
Then 3,000 men of Judah went to the top of the rock Etam, and said to Samson,
Knowest thou not that the Philistines are rulers over us? What is this that thou hast done unto us?
And he said unto them,
As they did unto me, so have I done unto them.
And they said unto him,
We are come down to bind thee, that we may deliver thee into the hand of the Philistines.
And Samson said unto them,
Swear unto me that ye will not fall upon me yourselves.
And they spake unto him, saying,
No, but we will bind thee fast, and deliver thee into their hands. But surely we will not kill thee.
And they bound him with 2 new cords, and brought him up from the rock. And when he had came to Lehi, the Philistines shouted against him. And the Spirit of the Lord came mightily upon him. And the cords that were upon his arms became as flax that was burnt with fire, and his bands loosed from off his hands. And he found a new jawbone of an ass, and put forth his hand, and took it, and slew 1,000 men therewith. And Samson said,
with the jawbone of an ass, heaps upon heaps. With the jawbone of an ass have I slain 1,000 men.
And it came to pass, when he had made an end of speaking, that he cast away the jawbone out of his hand, and called that place Ramath-Leah. And he was sore athirst, and called on the Lord, and said,
Thou hast given this great deliverance into the hand of thy servant, and now shall I die for thirst, and fall into the hand of the uncircumcised?
But God clave an hollow place that was in the jaw, and there came water thereout. And when he had drunk, his spirit came again, and he revived. Wherefore he called the name thereof in Hakkoret, which is in Lahi unto this day. And he judged Israel in the days of the Philistines 20 years.
Watch and read. Watch and read.
After his wife, and came to the man, and said unto him,
Art thou the man that spakest unto the woman?
And he said,
I am.
At our hands. Neither would he have showed us all these things, nor would us at this time have told us such things as these.
And the woman bare a son, and called his name Samson. And the child grew, and the Lord blessed him. Writ him as he would have writ a kid, and had nothing in his hand. But he told not his father or his mother what he had done. And he went down and talked with the woman, and she pleased Samson well. And after a time he returned to take her. And took their spoil, and gave change of garments unto them which expounded the riddle. And his anger was kindled, and he went up to his father's house.
Do them a displeasure.
And Samson went and caught 300 foxes, and took firebrands, and turned tail to tail.
What is this that thou hast done unto us?
And he said unto them,
As they did unto me, so have I done unto them.
And they said unto him,
We are come down to bind thee, that we may deliver thee into the hand of the Philistines.
Drunk, his spirit came again, and he revived. Wherefore he called the name thereof in Hakkoret, which is in Lahi unto this day. And he judged Israel in the days of the Philistines 20 years.
The History of Samson, Part 3. Written by the Most High God. Read by Deacon Abiel, Officer Azariah, Officer Tobiah, and Azariah Bath Israel. Judges, the 16th chapter, in the first verse. Then went Samson to Gaza, and saw there an harlot, and went in unto her. And it was told the Gazites, saying,
Samson is come hither.
And they compassed him in, and laid wait for him all night in the gate of the city, and were quiet all the night, saying,
In the morning when it is day, we shall kill him.
And Samson lay till midnight, and arose at midnight, and took the doors of the gate of the city, and the 2 posts, and went away with them, bar and all, and put them upon his shoulders, and carried them up to the top of an hill that is before Hebron. And it came to pass afterward that he loved a woman in the valley of Sorek, whose name was Delilah. And the lords of the Philistines came up unto her, and said unto her,
Entice him, and see wherein his great strength lieth, and by what means we may prevail against him, that we may bind him to afflict him, and we will give thee every one of us 1,100 pieces of silver.
And Delilah said to Samson,
Tell me, I pray thee, where thy great strength lieth, wherewith thy mightest be bound to afflict thee.
And Samson said unto her,
If they bind me with 7 green whiffs that were never dried, then shall I be weak and be as another man.
Then the lords of the Philistines brought up to her 7 green whiffs, which had not been dried, and she bound him with them. Now there were men laying in wait, abiding with her in the chamber. And she said unto them,
The Philistines be upon thee, Samson.
And he brake the whips, as a thread of tow is broken when it toucheth the fire. So his strength was not known. And Delilah said unto Samson,
Behold, thou hast mocked me and told me lies. Now tell me, I pray thee, wherewith thy mightest be bound.
And he said unto her,
If they bind me fast with new ropes that never were occupied, then shall I be weak and be as another man.
Delilah therefore took new ropes and bound him therewith, and said unto him,
The Philistines be upon thee, Samson.
And there were liars in the wait abiding in the chamber. And he brake them from off his arms like a thread. And Delilah said unto Samson,
Hitherto thou hast mocked me, and told me lies. Tell me wherewith thou mightest be bound.
And he said unto her,
If thou weavest the 7 locks of my head with the web.
And she fastened it with the pin, and said unto him,
The Philistines be upon thee, Samson.
And he awaked out of his sleep, and went away with the pin of the beam, and with the web. And she said unto him,
How canst thou say I love thee, when thy heart is not with me? Thou hast mocked me these 3 times, and hast not told me wherein thy great strength lieth.
And it came to pass, when she pressed him daily with her words, and urged him so that his soul was vexed unto death, that he told her all his heart, and said unto her,
There have not come a razor upon mine head, for I have been a Nazarite unto God from my mother's womb. If I be shaven, then my strength will go from me, and I shall become weak and be like any other man.
And when Delilah saw that he had told her all his heart, she sent and called for the lords of the Philistines, saying,
Come up this once, for he hath shown me all his heart.
Then the lords of the Philistines came up unto her, and brought money in their hand. And she made him sleep upon her knees. And she called for a man, and she caused him to shave off the 7 locks of his head. And she began to afflict him, and his strength went from him. And she said,
The Philistines be upon thee, Samson.
And he awoke out of his sleep and said,
I will go out as other times before and shake myself.
And he wist not that the Lord was departed from him. But the Philistines took him, and put out his eyes, and brought him down to Gaza. And bound him with feathers of brass, and he did grind in the prison house. Howbeit the hair of his head began to grow again, after he was shaven. Then the lords of the Philistines gathered them together, for to offer a great sacrifice unto Dagon their god, and to rejoice, for they said,
Our God had delivered Samson, our enemy, into our hand.
And when the people saw him, they praised their God, for they said,
Our God had delivered into our hands our enemy, and the destroyer of our country, which slew many of us.
And it came to pass, when their hearts were merry, that they said,
Call for Samson, that he may make us sport.
And they called for Samson out of the prison house, and he made them sport, and they set him between the pillars. And Samson said unto the lad that held him by the hand,
Suffer me, that I may feel the pillars whereupon thy house standeth, that I may lean upon them.
Now the house was full of men and women, and all the lords of the Philistines were there. And there were upon the roof about 3,000 men and women that beheld while Samson made sport. And Samson called unto the Lord and said,
O Lord God, remember me, I pray thee, and strengthen me, I pray thee, only this once, O God, that I may be at once avenged of the Philistines for my 2 eyes.
And Samson took hold of the 2 middle pillars upon which the house stood, and on which it was borne up, and of the one with his right hand, and of the other with his left. And Samson said,
"Let me die with the Philistines."
And he bowed himself with all his might. And the house fell upon the Lord.
Down with your pagan guys, running your idols, but they will not say you, cause you will not make it out here alive. I can see better with no eyes. I got my strength from the Most High. They counted me out, left in my curse, but judgment is coming, you know why. I did what was right in my own eyes. My whole life has led to this point and I'm ready to go. My body might give up the ghost, but back to the Father, my spirit gon' go. And though I'm gone, don't give up your hope. Remember my back was against the rope. I once was a pillar, but now that I'm pulling them down, it's one thing I want you to know.
Fell upon the Lord, and upon all the people that were therein. So the dead which he slew at his death were more than they which he slew in his life. Then his brethren and all the house of his father came down, and took him, and brought him up, and buried him between Zorah and Eshtaol, in the burying place of Manoah his father. And he judged Israel 20 years.
It's so hard to serve God. And why when I say that I'm a Jew, it sound odd. For years I've been walking around saying that I'm a black man. I ain't saying that no more, it sounds wrong, man.
This is Bishop Nathaniel of
The History of David and Goliath, written by the Most High God, read by officers Liam, Ozias, Ezekiel, and Dan, illustrated by Sister Kohath and Brother Gad. Stay tuned, watch, and read. First Samuel chapter 17, verse 1. Now the Philistines gathered together their armies to battle, and were gathered together at Shechem, which belongeth to Judah, and pitched between Shechem and Azekah in Ephesdammim. And Saul and the men of Israel were gathered together, and pitched by the valley of Elah, and set the battle in array against the Philistines. And the Philistines stood on a mountain on the one side, and Israel stood on a mountain on the other side, and there was a valley between them. And there went out a champion out of the camp of the Philistines named Goliath of Gath, was 6 cubits and a span. And he had an helmet of brass upon his head, and he was armed with a coat of mail, and the weight of the coat was 5,000 shekels of brass. And he had greaves of brass upon his legs, and a target of brass between his shoulders. And the staff of his spear was like a weaver's beam, and his spear's head weighed 600 shekels of iron, and one bearing a shield went before him. And he stood and cried unto the armies of Israel, and said unto them,
Why are ye come out to set your battle in array? Am not I a Philistine, and ye servants to Saul? Choose you a man for you, and let him come down to me. If he be able to fight with me and to kill me, then will we be your servants. But if I prevail against him and kill him, then shall ye be our servants and serve us. I defy the armies of Israel this day. Give me a man that we may fight together.
When Saul and all Israel heard those words of the Philistine, they were dismayed and greatly afraid. Now David was the son of that Ephrathite of Bethlehem, Judah, whose name was Jesse, and he had 8 sons. And the man went among men for an old man in the days of Saul. And the 3 eldest sons of Jesse went and followed Saul to the battle. And the names of his 3 sons that went to the battle were Eliab the firstborn, and next unto him Abinadab, and the third Shammah. And David was the youngest, and the 3 eldest followed Saul. But David went and returned from Saul to feed his father's sheep at Bethlehem. And the Philistine drew near morning and evening, and presented himself 40 days. And Jesse said unto David his son,
Take now for thy brethren an ephah of this parched corn, and these 10 loaves, and run to the camp to thy brethren, and carry these 10 cheeses unto the captain of their 1,000, and look how thy brethren fare, and take their pledge.
Now Saul and they and all the men of Israel were in the valley of Elah, fighting with the Philistines. And David rose up early in the morning, and left the sheep with the keeper, and took and went as Jesse had commanded him. And he came to the trench, as the host was going forth to the fight, and shouted for the battle. For Israel and the Philistines had put the battle in array, army against army. And David left his carriage in the hand of the keeper of the carriage, and ran into the army, and came and saluted his brethren. And as he talked with them, behold, there came up the champion, the Philistine of Gath, Goliath by name, out of the armies of the Philistines, and spake according to the same words. And David heard them. And all the men of Israel, when they saw the man, fled from him, and were sore afraid. And the men of Israel said,
Have you seen this man that has come up? Surely to defy Israel is he come up. And it shall be that the man who killeth him, the king will enrich him with great riches, and will give him his daughter, and make his father's house free in Israel.
And David spake to the men that stood by him, saying,
What shall be done to the man that killeth this Philistine, and taketh away the reproach from Israel? For who is this uncircumcised Philistine, that he should defy the armies of the living God?
And the people answered him after this manner, saying,
So shall it be done to the man that killeth him.
And Eliab, his eldest brother, heard when he spake unto the men. And Eliab's anger was kindled against David. And he said,
Why camest thou down hither? And with whom hast thou left those few sheep in the wilderness? I know thy pride, and the naughtiness of thine heart, for thou art come down that thou mightest see the battle.
And David said,
What have I now done? Is there not a cause?
And he turned from him toward another, and spake after the same manner. And the people answered him again after the former manner. And when the words were heard which David spake, they rehearsed them before Saul, and he sent for him. And David said to Saul,
Let no man's heart fail because of him. Thy servant will go and fight with this Philistine.
Thou art not able to go against this Philistine to fight with him, for thou art but a youth, and he a man of war from his youth.
Thy servant kept his father's sheep, and there came a lion and a bear, took a lamb out of the flock. And I went out after him, and smote him, and delivered it out of his mouth. And when he rose against me, I caught him by his beard, and smote him, and slew him. Thy servant slew both the lion and the bear, and this uncircumcised Philistine shall be as one of them, seeing he hath defied the armies of the living God. The Lord that delivered me out of the paw of the lion and out of the paw of the bear, he will deliver me out of the hand of this Philistine.
And Saul armed David with his armor, and he put an helmet of brass upon his head. Also he armed him with a coat of mail, and David girded his sword upon his armor. And he essayed to go, for he had not proved it. And David said unto Saul,
I cannot go with these, for I have not proved them.
And David put them off him, and he took his staff in his hand, and chose him 5 smooth stones out of the brook, and put them in a shepherd's bag which he had, even in a scrip. And his sling was in his hand. And he drew near to the Philistine. And the Philistine came on and drew near unto David. And the man that bare the shield went before him. And when the Philistine looked about and saw David, he disdained him, for he was but a youth, and ruddy, and of a fair countenance. And the Philistine said unto David,
If he be able to fight with me, and to kill me, then we will be your servant. But if I prevail against him, and kill him, then shall ye be our servants, and serve us. Am I a dog that thou comest to me with staves? Come to me, and I will give thy flesh unto the fowls of the air, and to the beasts of the field.
Then said David to the Philistine,
Thou comest to me with a sword, and with a spear, and with a shield. But I come to thee in the name of the Lord of hosts, the God of the armies of Israel, whom thou hast defied. This day will the Lord deliver thee into mine hand, and I will smite thee, and take thine head from thee. And I will give the carcasses of the host of the Philistines this day unto the fowls of the air, and to the wild beasts of the earth, that all the earth may know that there is a God in Israel. And all this assembly shall know that the Lord saveth not with sword and spear, for the battle is the Lord's, and he will give you into our hands.
And it came to pass, when the Philistine arose, and came and drew nigh to meet David, that David hasted and ran toward the army to meet the Philistine. And David put his hand in his bag, and took thence a stone, and slang it, and smote the Philistine in his forehead, that the stone sunk into his forehead, and he fell upon his face to the earth. So David prevailed over the Philistine with a sling and with a stone, and smote the Philistine, and slew him. But there was no sword in the hand of David. Therefore David ran, and stood upon the Philistine, and took his sword, and drew it out of the sheath thereof, and slew him, and cut off his head therewith. And when the Philistines saw their champion was dead, they fled. And the men of Israel and of Judah arose, and shouted, and pursued the Philistines, until thou come to the valley, and to the gates of Ekron. Philistines fell down by the way to Shaaraim, even unto Gath, and unto Ekron. And the children of Israel returned from chasing after the Philistines, and they spoiled their tents. And David took the head of the Philistine and brought it to Jerusalem, but he put his armor in his tent. And when Saul saw David go forth against the Philistine, he said unto Abner, the captain of the host,
Abner, whose son is this youth?
And Abner said,
As thy soul liveth, O king, I cannot tell.
And the king said,
Inquire thou whose son the stripling is.
And as David returned from the slaughter of the Philistine, Abner took him, and brought him before Saul, with the head of the Philistine in his hand. And Saul said to him,
Whose son art thou, thou young man?
And David answered, I am thy son, of thy servant Jesse, the Bethlehemite.
history of Jonah and the great fish, written by the Most High God, read by officers Liam, Gedaliah, and Ozias, illustrated by Sister Kohath. Jonah was an Israelite and the central character in the book of Jonah. Jonah was commanded by the God of Israel to go to the city of Nineveh to prophesy against it. For the children of Israel were taken captive by the Assyrians and placed into Nineveh. On his way to Nineveh, a miraculous event occurred. Stay tuned, watch, and read. Now the word of the Lord came unto Jonah, the son of Amittai, saying,
Arise, go to Nineveh, that great city, and cry against it, for their wickedness is come up before me.
But Jonah rose up to flee unto Tarshish from the presence of the Lord, and went down to Joppa. And he found a ship going to Tarshish. So he paid the fare thereof, and went down into it, to go with them unto Tarshish from the presence of the Lord. But the Lord sent out a great wind into the sea, and there was a mighty tempest in the sea, so that the ship was like to be broken. Then the mariners were afraid, and cried every man unto his God, and cast forth the wares that were in the ship into the sea, to lighten it of them. But Jonah was gone down into the sides of the ship, and he lay, and was fast asleep. So the shipmaster came to him, and said unto him,
What meanest thou, O sleeper? Arise, call upon thy God, if so be that God will think upon us, that we perish not.
And they said, every one to his fellow,
Come, let us cast lots, that we may know for whose cause this evil is upon us.
So they cast lots, and the lot fell upon Jonah. Then said they unto him,
Tell us, we pray thee, for whose cause this evil is upon us. What is thine occupation, and whence comest thou? What is thy country, and of what people art thou?
I am in Hebrew, and I fear the Lord, the God of heaven, which hath made the sea and the dry land.
Why hast thou done this? What shall we do unto thee, that the sea may be calm unto us?
Take me up, and cast me forth into the sea. So shall the sea be calm unto you. For I know that for my sake this great tempest is upon you.
Nevertheless, the men rowed hard to bring it to the land.
Let's get this ship into dry land. Keep pushing! Keep fighting! Men, there's no use. The current is too strong. We may have to push back, but we can't, so we must pray unto the Lord.
But they could not, for the sea wrought and was tempestuous against them. Wherefore they cried unto the Lord, and said,
We beseech thee, O Lord, we beseech thee, let us not perish for this man's life, and lay not upon us innocent blood. For thou, O Lord, hast done as it pleased thee.
So they took up Jonah, and cast him forth into the sea.
Get the Hebrew, and throw him off.
And the sea ceased from her raging. Then the men feared the Lord exceedingly, and offered a sacrifice unto the Lord, and made vows. Now the Lord had prepared a great fish to swallow up Jonah. And Jonah was in the belly of the fish 3 days and 3 nights. Then Jonah prayed unto the Lord his God out of the fish's belly, and said,
I cried by reason of mine affliction unto the Lord, and he heard me. Out of the belly of hell cried I, and thou heardest my voice, for thou hadst cast me into the deep, in the midst of the seas, and the floods compassed me about. All thy billows and thy waves passed over me. Then I said, I am cast out of thy sight, yet I will look again toward thy holy temple. The waters compass me about, even to the soul. The death closed me round about. The weeds were wrapped about my head. I went down to the bottoms of the mountains. Yet hast thou brought up my life from corruption, O Lord my God. When my soul fainted within me, I remembered the Lord, and my prayer came in unto thee, into thine holy temple. They that observe lying vanities forsake their own mercy, but I will sacrifice unto thee with the voice of thanksgiving. I will pay that I have vowed. Salvation is of the Lord.
And the Lord spake unto the fish, and it vomited out Jonah upon the dry land. And the word of the Lord came unto Jonah the second time, saying,
Arise, go unto Nineveh, that great city, and preach unto it the preaching that I bid thee.
So Jonah arose and went unto Nineveh, according to the word of the Lord. Now Nineveh was an exceeding great city, of 3 days' journey. And Jonah began to enter into the city, a day's journey. And he cried and said,
40 days, and Nineveh shall be overthrown.
So the people of Nineveh believed God, and proclaimed a fast, and put on sackcloth, from the greatest of them even to the least of them. For the word came unto the king of Nineveh, and he arose from his throne, and he laid his robe from him, and covered him with sackcloth, and sat in ashes. And he caused it to be proclaimed and published through Nineveh by the decree of the king and his nobles, saying,
Let neither man nor beast
herd nor flock taste anything. Let them not feed nor drink water, but let man and beast be covered with sackcloth, and cry mightily unto God. Yea, let them turn every one from his evil way, and from the violence that is in their hands. Who can tell if God will turn and repent and turn away from his fierce anger, that we perish not?
And God saw their works, that they turned from their evil way. And God repented of the evil that he had said that he would do unto them. And he did it not. The history of Daniel and Nebuchadnezzar's dream, written by the Most High God, read by Officer Liam, Officer Ozias, and Officer Ezekiel, illustrated by Officer Gedaliah, Brother Gershon, and Sister Kohath. Daniel chapter 2, verse 1. And in the second year of the reign of Nebuchadnezzar, Nebuchadnezzar dreamed dreams, wherewith his spirit was troubled. And his sleep brake for him. Then the king commanded to call the magicians, and the astrologers, and the sorcerers, and the Chaldeans, for to show the king his dreams. So they came and stood before the king. And the king said unto them,
I have dreamed a dream, and my spirit was troubled to know the dream.
Then spake the Chaldeans to the king in Syriac,
O king, live forever. Tell thy servants the dream, and we will show the interpretation.
The king answered and said to the Chaldeans,
The thing is gone from me. If ye will not make known unto me the dream with the interpretation thereof, ye shall be cut in pieces, and your houses shall be made a dunghill. But if ye show the dream and the interpretation thereof, ye shall receive of me gifts and rewards and great honor. Therefore show me the dream and the interpretation thereof.
They answered again and said,
Let the king tell his servants the dream, and we will show the interpretation of it.
The king answered and said,
I know of certainty that ye would gain the time, because ye see the thing is gone from me. But if ye will not make known unto me the dream, there is but one decree for you.
For ye have prepared lying and corrupt words to speak before me, till the time be changed. Therefore tell me the dream, and I shall know that ye can show me the interpretation thereof.
The Chaldeans answered before the king and said,
There is not a man upon the earth that can show the king's matter. Therefore there is no king, lord, no ruler that acts such thing at any magician or astrologer or Chaldean. And it is a rare thing that the king requireth, and there is none other that can show it before the king except the gods, whose dwelling is not with flesh.
For this cause the king was angry and very furious, and commanded to destroy all the wise men of Babylon. And a decree went forth that the wise men should be slain. And they sought Daniel and his fellows to be slain. Then Daniel answered with counsel and wisdom to Arioch, the captain of the king's guard, which was gone forth to slay the wise men of Babylon. He answered and said to Arioch, the king's captain,
Why is the decree so hasty from the king?
Then Arioch made the thing known to Daniel. Then Daniel went in and desired of the king that he would give him time, and that he would show the king the interpretation. Then Daniel went to his house and made the thing known to Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah his companions, that they would desire mercies of the God of heaven concerning this secret, that Daniel and his fellows should not perish with the rest of the wise men of Babylon. Then was the secret revealed unto Daniel in a night vision. Then Daniel blessed the God of heaven. Daniel answered and said,
Blessed be the name of God forever and ever, for wisdom and might are his. And he changeth the times and the seasons. He removeth kings and setteth up kings. He giveth wisdom unto the wise, and knowledge to them that know understanding. He revealeth the deep and secret things. He knoweth what is in the darkness, and the light dwelleth with him. I thank thee and praise thee, O thou God of my fathers, who has given me wisdom and might, and hast made known unto me now what we desired of thee. For thou hast now made known unto us the king's matter.
Therefore Daniel went in unto Arioch, whom the king had ordained to destroy the wise men of Babylon. He went and said thus unto him,
Destroy not the wise men of Babylon. Bring me in before the king, and I will show unto the king the interpretation.
Then Arioch brought in Daniel before the king in haste, and said thus unto him,
I have found a man of the captives of Judah that will make known unto the king the interpretation.
The king answered and said to Daniel, whose name was Belteshazzar,
Art thou able to make known unto me the dream which I have seen and the interpretation thereof?
Daniel answered in the presence of the king and said,
The secret which the king hath demanded cannot the wise men, the astrologers, the magicians, the soothsayers show unto the king? But there is a God in heaven that revealeth secrets, and maketh known to the king Nebuchadnezzar what shall be in the latter days. Thy dream and the visions of thy head upon thy bed are these. As for thee, O king, thy thoughts came into thy mind upon thy bed, what should come to pass hereafter. And he that revealeth secrets maketh known to thee what shall come to pass. But as for me, this secret is not revealed to me for any wisdom that I have more than any living, but for their sakes that shall make known the interpretation to the king, and that thou mightest know the thoughts of thy heart. Thou, O king, sawest, and behold, a great image. This great image, whose brightness was excellent, stood before thee, and the form thereof was terrible. This image's head was of fine gold, his breast and his arms of silver, his belly and his thighs of brass, his legs of iron, his feet part of iron and part of clay. Thou sawest till that a stone was cut out without hands, which smote the image upon his feet, that were of iron and clay, and brake them to pieces. This was the iron, the clay, the brass. Then was the iron, the clay, the brass, the silver, and the gold broken to pieces together, and become like the shaft of the summer threshing floors. And the wind carried them away, that no place was found for them. And the stone that smote the image became a great mountain, and filled the whole earth. This is the dream, and we will tell the interpretation thereof before the king. Thou, O king, art a king of kings, for the God of heaven hath given thee a kingdom, power, and strength, and glory. And wheresoever the children of men dwell, the beasts of the field and the fowls of the heaven hath he given into thine hand, and hath made thee ruler over them all. Thou art this head of gold. And after thee shall arise another kingdom inferior to thee. And another third kingdom of brass, which shall bear rule over all the earth. And the fourth kingdom shall be strong as iron, for as much as iron breaketh in pieces and subdueth all things, and as iron that breaketh all these shall it break in pieces and bruise. And whereas thou sawest the feet and toes, part of potter's clay and part of iron, the kingdom shall be divided. But there shall be in it of the strength of the iron. For as much as thou sawest the iron mixed with miry clay, and as the toes of the feet were part of iron and part of clay, so the kingdom shall be partly strong and partly broken. And whereas thou sawest iron mixed with miry clay, they shall mingle themselves with the seed of men, but they shall not cleave one to another, even as iron is not mixed with clay. And in the days of these kings shall the God of heaven set up a kingdom. Which shall never be destroyed, and the kingdom shall not be left to other people, but it shall break in pieces and consume all these kingdoms, and it shall stand forever. For as much as thou sawest that the stone was cut out of the mountain without hands, and that it brake in pieces the iron, the brass, the clay, the silver, and the gold, the great God hath made known to the king what shall come to pass hereafter. And the dream is certain, and the interpretation thereof sure.
Then the king Nebuchadnezzar fell upon his face and worshipped Daniel, and commanded that they should offer an oblation and sweet odors unto him. The king answered unto Daniel and said,
Of a truth, it is that your God is a God of gods, and a Lord of kings, and a revealer of secrets, seeing thou couldst reveal this secret.
Then the king made Daniel a great man, and gave him many great gifts. and made him ruler over the whole province of Babylon, and chief of the governors over all the wise men of Babylon. Then Daniel requested of the king, and he set Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego over the affairs of the province of Babylon. But Daniel sat in the gate of the king.
Shalom, Israel. I'm Elder Nathaniel of Israel United in Christ. YouTube likes to shut our channels down, as some of you have noticed, ever so often. Subscribing to join IUIC will assure you will always stay connected to our YouTube accounts. We want to do our best to make sure this truth gets out. Please click and join our subscriber YouTube channel called Join IUIC to stay linked to all of our videos. So again, please make sure you subscribe to this Join IUIC channel to get your latest updates from all our YouTube channels. Shalom.